Hi my little stars, this is Blue Moon Logic. Welcome back to another video. This time, as you can see in the title, it's going to be the Luna and Reject Squad facts video. I've worked on the facts for quite a while now. I've got them all down. I've finished making edits which don't actually have anything to do with either Luna or the Reject Squad. But they're a good thing to have in the background anyway, so yes, I hope you enjoy the video. And just to let you all know that this video will include spoilers for both Luna and the Reject Squad. If you haven't watched those series, I don't recommend watching the Reject Squad because it's garbage. And the only reason I'm keeping it up is because for some reason some people like it. I have no idea why. But anyway, I'll put up timestamps so you guys know which parts of the video that are safe and which parts to avoid if you don't want spoilers for anything you haven't watched, or for the remakes if you want to go in completely blind. Alright, now let's go into it. Section 1, Luna Part 1 facts. These can be about just the characters, or making it, and what happens after I made it. I have no idea why so many people subscribe because of Luna. But anyway, first fact, Luna is actually based on an old Mary Sue OC I had, but the story is completely different and the character design is a bit different too. I won't talk about the Mary Sue OC because that causes mental anguish because she was horrible, but she was one of my first OCs, so unfortunately she still has a special place in my heart. Second fact, Ryan was originally going to be a demon and everyone else in the school were going to be non-human, but that idea didn't seem very watchable. Just cause it's an overused idea as well, like cat in an all-wolf school or wolf in an all-cat school, those kind of stupid videos. They're just dumb. So yeah, they're all human, except for Ryan, cause you know why. Third fact, Saul wasn't originally going to exist, but when I started writing, his character just kind of popped into existence. And I'm kind of glad he did, because in the remake he'll be a lot more complex and interesting to watch and learn about. Next dot point, I only got about halfway through the planning when I started making the video and never finished planning on paper, so the last 10 to 15 minutes of the first Luna was completely improvised. Don't do what I did, kids. Plan your stories all the way through, cause I think I got lucky with Luna, but I didn't plan the Reject Squad and you know how that turned out. Unlike popular opinion, Luna was not inspired by either Harry Potter or My Hero Academia. I hadn't even watched MHA when I made it. Now I have, and All Might is best boy and Deku is adorable. To clear up any confusion, or just to make it clear, Ryan is canonically transsexual. I just didn't have any idea how to put it into the video. And he's a boy either way, so what does it matter? Trans rights. The ending of the first part wasn't planned at all, in the sense I was going in blind and wanted to inflict emotional trauma. Hehehe. Fun fact, I was terrified by the amount of popularity Luna got, and the amount of positivity I received was somewhat confusing since my mind had come to terms with realizing it was terrible, and yet so many people liked it. Most likely because of Ryan, but that's understandable. Luna actually means a lot to me, despite saying how much I dislike it. I got to meet so many cool people, and they stuck around, despite me making many mistakes and saying a lot of pretty bad things. Alright, time for the Reject Squad facts. 1. I didn't plan any of it. Always plan your stories on paper, kids, or on some sort of Word or document. 2. It was an excuse on my part to be edgy and cringy without completely realizing that it's on the internet and anyone can see it. We're past the self-deprecating now, onto the actual facts. Sky was also based on an old OC, but this time her story was more similar to the original. Nizro was going to be a complete unhinged psychopath who would traumatize Sky as often as he could because she escaped him. But that didn't go as planned, eh? And with how that story could have gone, it would have ended with either one killing the other or them both dying somehow. Nizro was one of the first confirmed dragons to appear in one of my stories and inspired the world connection with Ryan being a dragon too. However the hell that happened, I honestly have no idea how I decided that Ryan should be a dragon and Nizro to be his grandson. Maybe it was because I needed a reason for him to be called a Cain, but I don't know lol. I'll talk more about these two in the remake segment of the video. And that is the end of that part. That was very quick. Anyway, now on to Luna Part 2 facts. These are actually a lot more interesting. 1. I had made 3 different plans in total of how the episode could have gone. The first 2 was a dark plan and a light plan. The light one being where Saul hypnotizes Luna using a spell to make her do what he wants. Ryan would find out what's happening and stop Saul and reunite with Luna in a happy way. In the dark version, that wasn't completely fleshed out, Ryan would have joined Luna in her vigilante stuff and most likely go on the run, but that's completely against his character. The third version is what's available to watch. When I was trying to figure out how Ryan could be brought back to life, I had the idea of his fathers trying to bring him back, but when they do, he sleeps for a few years to regain his strength. The reason Andy died after bringing Ryan back is because death needs to keep balance. In other words, a soul for a soul. That's also why Simon didn't get brought back either. I played around with the idea of Saul coming back to sanity, but he was too far gone at that point. Ryan wasn't originally planned to be a dragon, but Nizra from the Reject Squad inspired that idea, and his dragon heritage is why him and his family are called Cains, and Nizra is his grandson, Amaya, and Kay's biological son. More on them later. Now, onto Luna Part 3 facts! This is my favourite of the 3 videos. While making the ending, I got emotional and expressed that through a community post, to which it was met with horror because I've rarely gotten emotional about my characters' deaths, and they know this. Saul having a son wasn't planned on my part, but it's still a good part of the story. Ryan and Amaya didn't have a good father-daughter relationship because she hated who she was and partially blamed him, but it gets fixed and she'll do anything for him now. Saul isn't the only Cain on my channel. Simon's death didn't have to happen, and I know this now. Saul ends up feeling bad about treating Kay like he did because he realizes the kid is a good person. And the side effects of being a Cain is horrible. Aside from being a walking entity of negativity, it's also extremely painful and uncomfortable. Had I continued the Luna books, Saul's description of the pain would be akin to every one of his bones breaking and mending, then breaking again, feeling his skin moving with the darkness he surrendered himself to and being yanked around like a puppet tied with invisible strings. Simon did have a funeral, but some people just love trying to make things seem bad. It's obvious Luna and Ryan would give their son a funeral. I couldn't show it because I needed storage on my phone to export a 36-minute long video. Kay and Amaya did end up being a couple, but the reason why one of their 2 children is both their biological child is because Kay was told he was infertile because dragons viewed as evil. And because of that, they weren't allowed to adopt either. So Amaya found someone who didn't think dragons were Cains and she had her first child, Keita. It was 8 years later that Amaya had another child and Kay found out he was lied to about being infertile. That child was Nizro, the most tragic character I've ever made. And as closure, I'll explain what could have happened if there was a real Part 4. The darkness that infected Saul would travel around and infect Akito to exact revenge on Kathy, Aya, Amaya, and Kay and their families. It would be an emotionally devastating video as you watch Kay and Akito kill each of them one by one before reaching Kay and Amaya's children, who would stand no ground to be brutally murdered. This meaning Lost Lives wouldn't have happened and be the most depressing ending on my channel. And now, onto the Luna and Lost Lives remakes information. For context, Lost Lives is the new name for the Reject Squad. Anyway, Luna remake first. Contrary to popular belief that Luna is a story that's perfect as it is, it's actually garbage. Follow the story of Luna Winter, who's a salty bitch for no reason and has magic while she goes to a school, meets her true love, a poorly written second best friend, a poorly written villain, and a poorly written edgy story that has no underlying themes or interesting world building. I dislike Luna as a character because her defining traits are being salty and ridiculously powerful with no explanation why. I'll change that in the remake. Here's what I'll do. Luna will have a more interesting character and a reason why she's so powerful, as well as a possible other reason implied, but I'm not going to talk about that. She and Saul will actually be really good friends, which will be an important part of Saul becoming the villain. Cadius, who's Luna's dad, will be a more prominent bad guy in the remake by influencing Saul to manipulate Luna, trying to isolate his daughter so he can control her easier, and be the reason Saul's sanity unravels. Ryan being transsexual will be spoken of, but not treated like some big deal because he's a boy either way. I'll also be writing his character how I intended him to be. Don't worry, he'll still be a cinnamon bun, and extremely lovable, but more shy and quiet. But I'll keep everyone's favourite moment of him saying, "Oh my gosh, don't kill me, you Kane!" Because that moment was when I realised I'd protect this baby with my life. Cammy will have more screen time because the girl deserves it. Luna won't become a vigilante, but still be viewed as a villain by the media, but you can decide who the villain the title was referring to is. The first part of the series won't be a singular video because even if it's an hour long, the spacing will be messed up and it'll feel rushed. So, Luna the anime is confirmed. Congratulations everyone, we've done it. Also, P.S. Ryan is roughly 10 to 15 centimeters taller than Saul, and I love the idea of Saul trying to intimidate him while having to crane his head up to look Ryan in the eyes. And now I've got the Reject Squad remake. The Reject Squad will be called Lost Lives in the remakes, so I'll refer to the series with that name. Lost Lives will have a completely different plot compared to the first, but Sky and Nizro's stories will remain the same while Sky has amnesia. Half of the characters in the original won't be in the remake due to them not being very important to the story. However, there will be one new character called Zack, who has a crab arm and has a backstory linked with Nizro's. The series will deal a lot more with trauma and dark themes, so it won't be suitable for young kids. Luckily, the series isn't even close to being made yet, so most of you would be a fair bit older by then. Rather than the Reject Squad existing and Sky meeting them, the actual plot summary will be... Excuse me, this is really cringy. After the murder of Sky's family, she outruns the killer and ends up falling, slamming her head against a wall, causing her to lose her memories. After waking up, she meets an assassin named Nizro who chooses not to leave her side because she's incapable of understanding that the area she's in is extremely dangerous, either because of criminals or an evil incorporation that has targeted both Nizro and Sky for unknown reasons. I'm excited to write the dynamic between Sky's chaotic, enthusiastic and loud energy and Nizro's withdrawn, quiet and serious energy. It's going to be awesome. And if anyone remembers Keto, who's Nizro's nephew, he'll be in the remake and be an important part of Nizro's character. I don't want to say more about him because it'll spoil stuff. I have the basic plot summary of Season 1 and Season 2 in my head, and I think it'll be awesome. Well, that's it from me, my stars. I hope you have a good day, and I'm going to try and finish the vines now. Have a lovely day, night, week, life, year. I love you all. Bye-bye.